So in example 5, we are asked to find the geometric mean between two numbers. So let's take a look at the geometric mean and what that is. Remember, you've used the word, we've found mean before in previous math courses, especially in elementary. We have what's called the arithmetic mean. You guys know this more just as the average. And you guys know how to do that. So if I want to find the mean or average of two numbers, let's take two numbers like 8 and 2. I said that backwards, 2 and 8. And to find the average between those two numbers, I take those two numbers, I multiply them together there, and then I divide by the number of numbers that I add. So since I have 2, I have to divide by 2. So this is going to give me 8 plus 2 is 10. Divide by 2. So my average of the numbers 2 and 8 is 5. The geometric mean is a little bit different type of average. Kind of gets confusing. It says it takes the nth root of the product of n numbers. So n is the number of numbers that I have. Again, like up here, I had 2 numbers, and so I divided it by 2. If I had 3 numbers, if I had 2 plus 8 plus 5, then I would divide it by 3, and that's what that n is telling you. So again, I'm going to take my 2 and my 8, so I have 2 numbers, and it says it's the nth root of the product of numbers. So that product means I multiply these two together. So 2 times 8 is 16, and then I have to take the nth root. So it's probably been a while. Remember, this is our radical sign right here. If I can spell radical right, but this is our radical sign right here. This is called our radicand, and this is called our index, and that index is talking about the nth root. So since I have 2 of them, my index there is going to be 2, which is basically just the square root. So the square root of 16 is 4. So if I have 8 and 2, the arithmetic mean or arithmetic average is 5. And when I take the geometric mean of 8 and 2, my geometric mean is 4. Now, if I had used this example up here and I had 2, 8, and 5, and I multiplied all those together, which is 80, then I would take my index there would be 3, because I would have 3 numbers there. So let's take a look at number 5 there. The geometric mean, they explain it in this because we're talking about a ratio. So I could say A over X is equal to X over B. And these numbers right here, these represent what are called my extremes. Okay? And the other, the A and B, I said that backwards. The X's there in the middle part, these are called my means. And in the green, the A and the B, these are called my extremes. And I kind of think about that in the way that, the A and the B, they're the first and the last. So they're on the edges or the extremes. And the X and X are in the middle. Those two are in the middle. So they're called the means. But when I multiply this together, I'm going to get A times B, which is equal to X squared, which is exactly the definition of geometric means. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that little fact to solve for this. So I'm going to say 24 over X is equal to X over 36. So I'm going to have X squared is equal to 24 times 36. So that gives me 24 times 36 is equal to 8 square root of 864. Now that gives me a big number, and I have to take out all of my perfect squares out of here. But one thing that I could do to kind of simplify this a little bit is say X squared is equal to, let's go back, I have 24 times 36. And the question is do I have any perfect squares in 24 and 36, or any common numbers in there? And you can look at that, and there's several ways to do this, but one way is, I need my equal sign there. One way is to look at that and say, well, 12 goes into 24 and 12 goes into 36. So that's going to be 12 times 2 and 12 times 3. So 12 and 12 is 144 times 6. There's no perfect square in 6. So then my answer is going to be 12 square root of 6. So that is one way that you can kind of simplify and look for your perfect squares like that beforehand. Another way is, if you looked at this, if I flip back over this way, I'm going to come this way. 36, that's a perfect square in itself, you know, square root of 36. And then I have the square root of 24. And you can say, okay, what are my perfect squares in 24? Which would be 4 is a perfect square. 4 times 6. So the square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 4 is 2. And that leaves me the square root of 6. And that would be 12 square root of 6. So the point here is that there's not just one way that you can look at this and solve this. There's a couple different routes. But at the end, we still get the same answer, 12 square root of 6.